you look back and you understand the accomplishments and some of the growth we had, and you look back and you're proud of that. But at this point in time, still you have a sour taste in your mouth based on how it finished, and us not accomplishing the ultimate goal and getting to that point. But big picture wise, we had a lot of progress in certain areas that we can improve on still. But like I said, kind of expedited the process of getting to where we wanted to, lay the foundation, and have some things to look forward to going into next year. Can obviously hit the ground running a little bit differently than this first year with the new staff and us getting with the new team.
Mark Murphy.
Hi, Ime. Obviously, there's a lot of talk that goes into how you guys need to improve. You've mentioned playmaking. How much of it is adding players to the mix, and how much of it is just the growth with your young stars, especially Jayson and Jalen?
You always try to improve. I think overall, you understand the situation we're in, and the appeal that we have of where we got to, the players we have on our roster, and the appeal for others, trying to improve throughout the league with other players, going out and finding guys that complement our team well. And so that's obviously coming up here in the future. But a big part will be internal growth within the players that we have, the additions we made at the trade deadline. Just like I said, having a year under our belt with each other. And so as we continue to try to improve, through free agency, trades, draft, and all those things, we do understand the biggest part of that growth will be from within. And guys showed tremendous progress throughout the season. And I think this offseason with us continuing to work with them, hammer home some certain points, and those guys improve on the things they did throughout the season, we can have even more coming into next season.
Next question is from our Celtics.com digital, Mark D'Amico.
Hey, Ime, following up on that, I'm just curious, from your perspective and from your experience, how can a finals run with a young core help to influence free agents and players on other teams who might want to come and join that? Just from your experience, what have you seen around the league of how that type of run can influence players around the league?
I've been a part of it. Several places I've been. Obviously San Antonio winning a title there, and with a guy like Kawhi who kind of burst onto the scene and got the Finals MVP that year. I think great players attract others, and so guys talk to each other throughout the season, definitely in the off season, and just watching, being on that stage and watching the growth of our young guys. I think that's appealing to other players. And when you got a guy like Jayson, Jalen, these guys that have a bright future, and you start to look at longevity and consistency across the board, I think that's appealing to other guys. And so a few things we try to do is obviously put the product on the floor that's appealing to guys and play as a team. And myself as a coach, having relationships around the league, I think that's a benefit as well. But anytime you see guys on that stage and they're doing what they're doing at that young age, it starts to look like that for other guys. And I know LaMarcus Aldridge had a big part of that coming to San Antonio based on Kawhi's success and the success we had as an organization. And then it trickled down to guys like David West across the board. Guys wanted to come play with other great players. And so we saw a result of that, getting to 2 finals in a row in San Antonio. And I think our guys with their futures in front of them is appealing as well to other guys. So the product on the floor, coaching in general, players always want to play with other great players, and that's a benefit for us going forward.
Gary Washburn.
Hey, Ime. I know, have you talked to Jayson, and what's your kind of message to him this summer? Obviously, he's going to probably try to be like Rocky and literally, train like crazy and try to atone for what was a difficult finals. What's your message to him? What's his attitude right now and emotions about a week later?
He had a great year. First team All-NBA, all the accolades that he accomplished, and obviously had a huge part of getting us to where we were. My main message to him was take a step back and rest your body first and foremost. Had a long season, long off season with the Olympics last year, and dove right into it with obviously with the season and all the situations we went through with injuries. He was kind of the steady force that didn't miss a lot of time due to injuries or COVID. And when guys were in and out, and he had to shoulder a lot of that load. So physically get right, mentally take a step back and reflect, kind of decompress and get your mind right as well. And so, just that time away, don't really want to bother guys as much right now, just going with what we went through, but want to relay the message that there's still more to build on, to grow on in your areas. And I think first and foremost is taking that step away and reflecting on everything when you get back into the gym and kind of take a chance to look at the season as a whole and look at the accomplishments you made personally. So for him, he's a gym rat that wants to get right back into it. Obviously, he has his off-season routine where he takes care of himself extremely well, gets his body right. Then he'll start building up. And so from there, we just really want him to take a step back and rest himself and then take a look at the big picture and how much he accomplished and kind of build on that.
From the Boston Globe, Chris Gasper.
Ime, you mentioned the foundation that's been raised or built really for the team. At a year ago at this time, there was some sort of skepticism about the Celtics in terms of elevating Brad to his role and then replacing Brad with a new coach, with a first-time coach. I was just curious from your point of view, how much credit does ownership deserve for, putting you guys in a position to have success and for helping to lay that foundation?
Yeah, they've been great from day one. And, I got to know them obviously through the interview process. And that was something that stood out was, that they're all about the same things. And we all have alignment from top to bottom with what we're trying to do here in this organization. And so, Pags and Wick and the rest of the group have been extremely helpful this year, supportive. And, like I said, we took our lumps early, but they were always on board with what we were trying to do and the foundation we were trying to lay and what we're playing for. And so just getting with them, seeing them last night at the draft and kind of reiterating the season we had, but how we can get better and push forward is a big thing with them. And so we understand what we're playing for here. I talked about the expectations and they haven't wavered from that at all. Only been more supportive with what we did this year. And so top to bottom, they've been great working with myself and Brad and the team in general. And obviously got a taste of where we got this close this year. And we're obviously trying to get more, trying to get number 18 here.
Brian Robb.
Hey, mate, with this being your first full off season with the team, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but what do you kind of envision the collaborative process with you, with the front office, heading into free agency? What have you kind of voiced about what you think are the biggest needs are for the team, be it trades or free agency, and how heavily involved do you expect to be on the recruiting front when it comes to, the free agency itself?
Yeah, we've discussed throughout the season, ways to improve, and we did that at the trade deadline and tried to address some needs. And so for us, it's really, the biggest part will be internal growth, obviously, with our guys. And like I said, everybody improving, as I mentioned to the team, coming back better next year than we were this year. So that's a big part of it. But also, obviously, free agency is a huge deal coming up, and we do have some needs to address. And for us, consistency across the board, continuing to play the way we have, defensive mindset, but also sharing the basketball, and anything we can add position-wise to help us with that will be beneficial. So for us, consistent scoring off the bench is a huge key. You'd like to look at certain positions, and I think we have a lot of things covered, but can always have additions with the trade exceptions we have. So we'll take a look at a certain amount of names that are available, possibly, and see if we can fit anything in numbers wise. But there are some things to address, and I think a thing that stood out a little bit in the finals was our bench scoring, kind of solidifying that with veteran roles off the bench. We had some young guys we really relied on, Peyton, Derek, Grant, and those guys grew tremendously throughout the year, and we need to see more of that. But certain positions and roles need to be touched on, and we have a good amount of names that we're looking at, and hopefully some of those things work out for us.
Final couple questions, Coach. Mark Murphy again.
Hey, May, actually 2 questions. First, where did you catch that striper?
Boston Harbor yesterday.
Boston Harbor? Wow, they get that big in Boston Harbor. That was pretty good. And just how much have you been able to clear your head over the last week or so, just in terms of getting away and maybe doing things like that?
Not a lot. I mean, playing that late into the season, you obviously are going right into the draft pretty quickly, and then free agency is on your mind in the summer league. So for us, I mean, it's a benefit. Obviously, it's huge honor to play into June, that late into June, have a chance. And so being there before and having a short off season is nothing to complain about. So you'd rather do that than have months to sit around and kind of figure things out, meaning you didn't have a ton of success. And so for me to stay busy is fine. I think, got to go to New York with the family for Father's Day. But other than that, been right back here in Boston, preparing for everything we have upcoming.
And go back to Gary Washburn.
Hey, Ime, do you anticipate any changes to your coaching staff, either additions, subtractions, a new position, et cetera? How do you assess that?
Well, yeah, obviously we have two guys interviewing with Utah, Will Hardy and Joe Mazzulla, and as of now, they're still in the mix for the head coaching position there. So something that I've been a part of for years and seen across the board is guys getting opportunities in the offseason. And we'd like to retain guys if it's if they don't get the head coaching position, and if someone does, we like to elevate within. We've talked about some things specifically, whether it be a shooting coach or different things we've looked at. But what we do have on our coaching staff is a lot of young, talented guys and that are obviously getting some accolades and earning these opportunities. And so we push them forward with that. We love to see them get opportunities, same way I did last year as a first-time head coach. And if so, we take a look overall around the league in general. I have a lot of relationships, obviously, being around with a lot of different organizations, but we also do like to promote within and I think grow our own tree here, starting from the Boston Celtics. And so guys are getting recognition for what they did this year, and hopefully it works out for one of them. But it's something you always prepare for in the offseason is success and guys come to look at your coaching staff. And so they're getting those accolades and wishing them the best of luck going forward with it.
Final question, Coach, is from Mass Live reporter Suichi Terada.
Hey, Ime, yeah, just wondering your thoughts on JD from yesterday's draft. And do you have like a plan for Summer League yet, or is that still kind of up in the air?
Yeah, first and foremost, excited about the young guy. JD, obviously an extremely gifted athlete. And, I probably caught less college basketball than ever this year, but he did stand out. Specifically, I saw the hair and I saw him flying around, when I did catch Alabama games. And so he stood out right off top, and his athleticism, his youth and energy, young guy, obviously freshman, and tremendous explosion. And so with him, extremely happy to have him, get him that late in the draft. And kind of, as you know, I've come from an organization where numbers didn't really matter. You got Ginobili and Parker, some guys really late in the draft, and had late first round, late second round, and always try to find diamonds in the rough as far as that. So looking forward to that with him. And Summer League, preparing for it now. We have our group of young guys already on board, and they'll start practices, around the 4th of July and head out to Vegas. But we'll implement JD into everything we're doing. Extremely happy to have him and looking forward to watching those guys out in Las Vegas.